All right, Anatomy Warriors, we're back. We're here for CA3 video. Remember, all the videos that I do will have a number by them. This is the third of, I don't know how many there's going to be. However, this is the third. The page number is going to be right over here, and this should explain a lot on the test. The test will be heavy on these videos, heavy. You can access these videos through announcements on Canvas, or you can go to my YouTube page under Chase Vandervelde. All my videos are right there too. So please check them out. That's not the only videos you have, because you have one on heart attacks before with the guy who's playing soccer and had a heart attack at the construction site. Hopefully you know about that. You had another one that was a real basic, like 2-minute video on how the heart works, just to kind of give you a teaser for it and figure it out in a basic sense, a visual sense. But now we're going to CA3, and CA3 is going to be all about this thing called venous blood flow. Venous blood flow. This word venous is going to mean through the veins. You can find this on in your book under that page number. Go find it. It's pretty awesome. But I need you to understand something. Okay, let me set it up for you. Have you ever heard, don't lock your knees or else you'll pass out? Okay? Have you ever heard that? Don't lock your knees or else you'll pass out? If you have, I want you to take that little bit of information and I want you to throw it away because it's garbage. It's junk. That's not what happens. Locking your knees, there's no special nerve that you pinch off that makes you pass out. There's no blood vessel you pinch off when you pass out. It's not about locking your knees. Okay? Throw that out because it's garbage. You'll have to remember, I have to ask you, do you remember the percent of blood, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that, the percent of the body that the heart pumps to? It was in a myth video, a couple of videos a day, last video maybe? What percent of the body does the heart pump blood to? A lot of you want to say 100%. Not 100%, no, that's wrong. The heart pumps blood to 51% of the body, 51%. You remember that if your heart pumps blood into the first vessel going out, it's pumping into an artery. The arteries branch into smaller tubes called arterioles. The arterioles form into capillaries. The capillaries form into venules. The venules form into veins. The veins bring blood back to the heart. All right? Now, how much of the body does the heart give blood to, pump blood to? 51%. All the way through the arteries and arterioles and the arterial side of the capillaries, all that, but then just a little bit past the capillaries and the venule side of the capillaries. Almost gone by then. So if we're looking at the ways that blood gets from my feet back up to my heart, there's going to be a few of them. I need you to understand and be ready to go for this. Number one, only 1% from left vent pressure. Now, your left ventricle is the strongest chamber in the human heart. It does a lot of work. In fact, the walls on your left vent are much, much thicker than the walls on all the other one because it has a really hard job. All right, so you need to know only 1% of the pressure bringing blood back up to my heart is through left ventricular pressure. All right, let's go to the next one. The next one, though, is really cool. You've got these valves. Misspelled muscle. You got these valves in your legs and the veins in your legs, like the great Saphenous vein, the longest vein in the human body. It goes from my big toe all the way up to the inside of my leg. All right, you guys have one great Saphenous right leg, one great Saphenous left leg, and this great Saphenous vein carries a lot of oxygen poor blood back up to the heart. But if it's not pumped there by the heart itself, then how does it get up there? Well, I'm gonna have to draw. You guys know I'm not good at drawing, but hopefully this is going to make sense. Let's say that this is a section of your great Saphenous vein. If I can get a marker that works. All right, great Saphenous vein coming right up your leg, right on the inside of your bone. Inside this, if we dissected it, we would see a series of these one-way valves. And they kind of go up like this, okay? They let blood go up through there, but when the blood tries to fall back down, what does the valve do by its shape? It snaps shut. Okay, blood can't fall down, but it can go up. All right, these one-way valves are in the long veins in the human body. Now, you still have to push the blood up through those valves, though. You can't, they just don't, capillary action doesn't do it. You have to, in other words, I'm going to see if I can draw muscles on the side of this. remember, you have all these leg muscles in your leg, and when you flex a muscle, it gets shorter and fatter. It gets shorter and fatter. I'm not going to flex my bicep in here because it's a little embarrassing, but flex your bicep for me. Just go boom and see what happens. Your bicep gets shorter and it gets fatter. Imagine your leg muscles getting shorter and fatter. They're going to squeeze that vessel. They're going to squeeze the great saphenous vein. What happens to the blood inside that when you squeeze it? Well, it has to go up. Why doesn't it go down? Because there's valves down there, and the valves are saying, you're not coming down, Jack. You're not coming down. You can go up, but you're not coming down. And so the blood goes up because people move and they flex their legs, and it pumps that blood up. The heart doesn't do it. It only does 1% of it, but the leg muscles do it. So let's say you're standing in a wedding. Let's say you're there. Maybe you're the groomsman. Maybe you're the bride. And you're supposed to stand there at attention for a long period of time. And you think, maybe don't lock my knees. Throw that out. That's garbage. I'm going to tell you, if you don't want to pass out, and you really don't, because your whole family will be there and nobody will let you forget it. Nobody will let you forget it ever for your whole life. They won't let you forget it. One thing that you do, and there's going to be two total, one thing that you do is you isometrically contract your legs. All right, I'm squeezing my legs right now. My muscles are getting shorter and a little fatter. It's helping move blood up essentially to my stomach and the inferior vena cava and around my stomach. So when you're standing there, flex your legs. Flex your legs. Pump that blood up. It won't go down, it has to come up. That's number two. That's the number two reason. Let's go to our third reason, the third way. Now, once you do that, you pump that blood up, it's essentially pulled up in your inferior vena cava, and vessels are coming back up towards your heart. But it's not all the way to the heart yet. It's essentially in your pelvic girdle and all through here. Now imagine you could squeeze your stomach muscles and you can move it a little bit by that. But your book denotes, your book says, now right in this area right here, it says there is a positive abdominal pressure. Now, where do we get that pressure? Where do we get a positive abdominal pressure? Well, let's figure this out because it's important. You see, in the human body right here, you have a muscle called the diaphragm. It separates your thoracic cavity from the abdominal cavity. All right, now the diaphragm is key in breathing. When you breathe in, the diaphragm goes boop, and it pushes down. It pushes down. All right, when you breathe out, it comes back up. When you breathe in, it goes down. When you push back out, when you breathe back out, it pushes up. Now, what happens to the pressure here in your abdominal cavity when you take a deep breath and the diaphragm pushes on all those organs? Well, you create a pressure. It's a positive pressure. It's an add pressure. What happens to a fluid when you create a pressure? Well, I probably shouldn't do this, but I'm going to have to do this. Let's say we take this Mountain Dew, and this is like here, blood in my pelvic girdle and my abdominal cavity. When I push on it, when I create a pressure on it, look what happens. All that luscious Mountain Dew, in this case blood, it goes up. Why does it not go down? Because you got long bay valves down there and they're saying you're not going down. Okay, you got to go up. And so the blood will go up when I breathe in because that diaphragm is pushing on this. Now, if we're all in class together, I would ask for a volunteer. I said, will anybody volunteer to come up here and lay on the floor and let me stand on their abdominal cavity? I'll stand on your stomach. All right, and every single class I've done this, somebody raised their hand. It's almost always guys. All right, and so they come up here and they're like, you just want me to lay down? I said, yeah, lay down. I weigh 200 pounds. I'm going to stand on your stomach. Now, my goal for this is to get students to see the blood red face, because their face will turn red because blood pressure going up increases so much. And so I remember this poor kid. I had a kid that volunteered, awesome kid. He came up here. He was probably 125 pounds or so. And I took off my shoes and I stood on his stomach. And I love this kid, so I kind of bounced on him to make him like, oh, and his face would turn bright red. But as soon as I got on him, not only did the blood pressure increase from here up, which means blood is moving that way, a lot of gas came out the other end. All right, a lot. All right, he what's the word? Flatulated? He farted, man, he farted loud, and he was so embarrassed. Not only was he blushing, but the blood pressure was increased, and everybody was laughing. It was awful. but I gave him some extra credit for volunteering. So that's what happened. It's this, okay? Positive abdominal pressure because of breathing. So the second thing I have to tell you, when you're standing there getting married and you don't want to pass out, or you're in a choir and you have to stand at attention, any situation, you're going to flex your legs. You're also, though, you're going to breathe normally, because some people, when they get nervous, they panic breathe, they shallow breathe, and their diaphragm doesn't really get a good pressure down, and so they're like, oh my gosh, you're getting married, oh my gosh, my whole life's about to change, oh my gosh, and they never just take a normal breath. So two things you do: flex your legs, breathe normally, and you won't pass out. All right? Now, we still have a couple more. If there's positive abdominal pressure, I want you to think about something else. I want you to think about thoracic pressure. What did I do here? I messed that up. Thoracic. What happens in the thoracic pressure area when you breathe in? When you breathe in, all right, the diaphragm goes down, the ribs go out. Is it negative or is it positive pressure in your in your chest? Well, it's negative. Things want to rush into low pressure zone. So air wants to rush in, and also blood wants to rush up to where your heart is. So you might have positive abdominal pressure when you breathe, but you're going to also create a negative thoracic pressure. And you guys do this all the time when you drink from a straw. Have you ever drank from a straw and I don't know if you can see that, you create a negative pressure zone, a vacuum, and the fluid goes into it. That's what happens in your chest. I'm going to see if I can demonstrate this by virtue of my favorite drink, good old Mountain Dew. I'm going to create a negative pressure zone similar to what we do in our chest when we breathe in, and watch what happens. I didn't get any, man. But you saw it come up. You saw the fluid go up, which is just exactly what happens in your chest when you're breathing. The blood comes up to your chest. All right, last thing, the fifth thing, going to be on your test. Don't miss it. In your veins and in your arteries, you have a layer of muscle. All of it's wrapped in muscle and connective tissue. All right, this muscle has a job. It can contract. So what happens when a vessel contracts? The diameter gets lower. What happens to the pressure on the blood in that vessel when it squeezes? Pressure goes up. When you have pressure, you can move stuff. Your book describes this as it's called Veno because it happens in veins. It's called Veno Constriction. Because if you have Veno Constriction, you squeeze the blood moves. That's Veno Constriction. You can move some blood by that. And your brain will send a signal to your veins to go ahead and constrict when blood pressure drops. When your blood pressure drops, your brain is doing that. Have you ever stood up too fast? You stood up and you're like, oh, I'm getting dizzy. Well, why didn't you pass out? And sometimes you do, but your brain is sending a signal to your veins and it's saying, constrict, constrict. We have to have Veno Constriction. Our pressure is dropped, and you recover pretty quickly because your brain and baroreceptors, they're called baroreceptors. You don't have to know that. They tell your body to do all kinds of things. Here's your 5 ways that blood's going to get from your feet back up to your heart. Only 1% of it is left ventricular pressure. All over the test. It's going to be all over the test. Don't miss it, okay? Don't miss it. There'll be a quiz after this. Take your quiz, use your notes. Guys, let's hang in there. Some of you guys are kicking some butt in this. Others of you, you're getting your butt kicked. So I want everybody to do well. So let's go. It's going to be on the test. Lots of things on the videos on the test. You guys have a wonderful day.